I always sort of start a live show by asking the same question. It kind of intrigues me. Who here hasn't ever listened to this podcast before? Show of hands? Mentira.
One or two.
There's one. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Okay. The obvious question is, what the bloody hell are you doing here? But apart from that, thank you for coming. I'm Phil, this is Sid, and this is Al.
Hello.
And we will talk about Spanish football. I say we.
Some more than others.
Some of us more than others. It's great to be back in London. We thought I say we, when we booked this venue.
Yeah.
A certain member of the TSFP crew thought it might coincide with a certain potential trophy parade.
Yeah. It turns out that is not an issue.
Yes. But we won't dwell on that. But yes. Yes. The theme of this show, and obviously we've been doing the podcast for 13 years. We've been doing these live podcasts for a while now. It is occasionally difficult to come up with new themes and ideas and content.
Is it?
Yeah, occasionally, but not this one. We thought we'd do it about derbies.
Yeah.
Defining Derbies is the name of the show, Sid.
Yeah. I was just laughing at the fact that I think probably the thing you've said to me most over the last 10 years is, yeah, you've told me that before.
I fear I might hear that again tonight, but hopefully you guys haven't heard some of the fantastic stories that we're going to tell before. We will have some games. There will be some magnificent prizes as well, obviously provided by our friends at La Liga and beyond as well. This is a La Liga event, and we will be keeping it nice and corporate.
Yeah. Family friendly.
Family friendly. So, Sid, yes.
I feel like I should make one warning. It is about rivalries. It is about derbies, so there might be some fruity language. You know, rivalries do tend to lead to that things, but we have an absolutely zero tolerance policy on certain phrases. So if anyone says bragging rights at any point in the evening,
no.
Out of here, all right? That is not being said at any point.
Nobody's saying bragging. Nobody ever says bragging rights, ever. It doesn't
Awful
exist.
cliche.
At the halftime interval, there will be a break. If you haven't brought a sandwich wrapped in tin foil, you can order some food at the bar. It will be ready by the time the show finishes. So make sure you do that, and make sure to get a drink and spend lots of money in this lovely venue who are having us here. Okay, let's start, shall we?
Yeah. Where are we going first, Kitro?
We are going to the sizzling south of Spain. When we talk about Spain, and a lot of cliches are really talking about Andalusia, we're going to talk about the Seville derby, Real Betis against Sevilla. Now, this is what Sydney wrote all the way back in 2005, Sid. You've been doing this an insanely long time.
Yeah, thanks for that.
But that's why you're so good. This is what Sid wrote. No one does city derbies quite like Seville, the home of flamenco, bullfighting, and bizarre Catholic mysticism, as well as Spain's most passionate, bitter, and frankly crazy football rivalry between two teams with proper loonies for fans and for presidents. And that sets us up pretty nicely, because
Not much has changed
Not
in
much
the last
has changed.
20 years.
And that does kind of encapsulate what the Seville derby is all about.
It's changed a little bit. I think the presidential part of it has calmed down quite a lot. I think there's a new wave of sensibleness. Not that I'm lamenting the passing of the lunacy. A new wave of sensibleness there. But it is true that I think all of those things that you think are true of Spain, which turn out not to be, and it's actually become a cliche to say that the cliches aren't true. It's become a cliche to say, no, but Spain's not like that, and it's not just... But the cliched image we have of Spain largely comes from the south and largely comes from Seville.
So if we're gonna try and sum up each of our derbies in a word.
Yes.
One word, Sid, to define the Seville derby. What is it?
Well, there's lots of options. I think...
One word.
I know. Do you know what I'm going to go
like
for?
Sid's biggest challenge, isn't it?
This is terrible, right? But I feel like I'm going to go for guasa, which is basically bants.
Yeah.
Oh, what a terrible way to start. We start with bants, but this is the rivalry where they love to wind each other up.
Yeah.
They like to think that they're funny, and they are quite often genuinely funny. And it's about that sense of competition between the two on an almost even level.
I would go for the word proper. This is a proper derby. It's a city divided down the middle where they sort of like, they hate each other, but they live with each other as well.
Yeah.
Like
And it's
families.
that wind-up thing.
Yeah.
It is that wind-up thing. It's about... I almost said it.
5 minutes in. I definitely think that genuine kind of equality, the fact it's two big clubs, that's a big part of making a derby.
And there isn't another city split down the middle like this between two teams.
Not in the same way.
Not like this.
My word was going to be colour, because there's something about the green of Betis and the red of Sevilla, unless you're colourblind, like Sid. The red and the green.
Red, green, colourblind.
I don't know. They just when you see the tifos and the flags and the shirts and the two groups of fans together in the stadiums, those two colours, and just the colour of the city of Seville as well.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Yeah, because and it's all linked to this, but you can throw in passion, or you can throw in loud, or you can throw in funny, or you can throw in wind-up's 2 words unless you put a hyphen in and cheat. But that's kind of thing, isn't it? It's about that sense of living together and confronting each other daily with what you've done and with what you've achieved. And I think you're right. I think the fact that it's so evenly divided is really important. Yeah. That until recent years, when obviously Sevilla have gone on and become the best team the Europa League's ever seen, these are two teams that have won similar amounts of trophies, that have got one league title each, that I think it's 4-2 in Copa del Rey successes, that more or less evenly divide the city. Across Spain, Betis are more popular. Because if you like, the Sevillana diaspora is more Betico than it is Sevillista. But within the city, it's very, very similar. 1.1% of the Spanish population are Sevilla fans, 3.2% are Betis fans. That tells you something about Betis' advantage. That within the city is really close.
And talking of colour, by the way, some spectacular tifos.
Yes.
I've got one here we can zoom in on for a second. I mean, look at that.
I mean, what is that?
Well, that was... and actually, it's important to point this out, to say what is that. And this is one of the things that happens a lot with these tifos. The tifos are almost always a manifestation of Rincón Cultural. Because this is during Easter, this idea that Sevilla is Pasión. No one does Easter like Seville. And this idea that, in part, what they're competing for is to prove that they are more Sevillano than the other, that they embody the city even more than the other, and that leads quite often to this idea of the role of Catholicism within it, the role of celebration within it, and particularly during Easter, where that's really, really powerful. There was a front page headline, front page photo. I think it was last season before the derby. I was there on my way there. It was the week before Easter. And it could not have been a more perfect front page for ABC newspaper. Now, for those who don't know, ABC newspaper is sort of less a newspaper, more a court circular for people of a certain generation. And the front page picture was of two 80-year-old nuns, one with a Betis scarf on, one with a Sevilla scarf on, and they were going at each other over who was going to win the derby.
Quite an image. So that was just the Seville derby defined in one word. I see it. We've gone off a little bit.
But these words, they need unpacking.
They do. Let's unpack. So the structure of the show is that we're going to give you a word to define these derbies. We're going to talk about a legendary figure, and we're going to give you a recommendation about this derby. So a legendary figure.
You want a quick classic game as well?
Oh, a quick classic game? Let's have a classic game as well.
It's not easy to choose. This is... I say classic.
Yeah.
This is a game from 2018. We're not going back too far.
We should probably warn you, shouldn't we, that there's going to be quite a lot of recency bias. For 2 reasons. Obviously, we wanted to try and be true to what we've experienced, and also we didn't want to tell you very often, although I will do it on occasions, about some game in the 1920s that no one remembers, and that we can't get footage for.
Yeah, what you're watching here is highlights of Sevilla 3, Betis 5 from 2018. Betis scoring 5 goals. Oh, is it? Hang on a second. Something's gone wrong.
That was just done to annoy the Real Madrid fans amongst you.
Yeah. I might pick
Before we move on, by the way, my favourite bit about these shows is always looking out at you lot and seeing, what are we up? We must be about 16, 17 different shirts.
Sevilla 3, Betis 5 was amazing.
Yes.
Oh, I have to say...
We're not going to show you it, but it was amazing.
Just take our word for it. It was brilliant.
Trust us on this. It was fantastic.
That sort of maybe set the bar unrealistically high, because you don't always get 8 goals.
No, that was the first time they'd had 8 goals for more than 50 years. So no, you don't always get 8 goals, and unfortunately you're not going to see it. But the final goal, this was the height of the the Quique Setién era at Betis, when it was we're just going to pass the ball around. And the final goal is them doing a rondo inside the Sevilla penalty area. Oh, over there, no, over there.
And by the way, you know what day that game was played, right?
I do know what day that was.
January 6th, Dia de Reyes in Spain, which is basically Spanish Christmas Day.
Yes.
Imagine if you're a kid, it's your Christmas Day and your team beat your local rival 5-3 at their place in the derby. What a day.
What a day. That's another Rincon Cultural element, which I'm sure some of you know, but Christmas Day being 12th night, the idea that you celebrate and you get your presents when Jesus got his presents, when the gold and the frankincense and the myrrh
We digress.
turned up. Resin. Who was resin? Oh,
we could actually do a whole show on the Seville derby because
easily.
genuinely there's a lot of stuff.
Easily.
But I'm mindful of trying to squeeze lots of things into the show.
Yeah.
A legendary figure.
No, wait. I do want to stop you though.
Go on.
So it's all about the timing. Let him think he's getting away with it, and it comes. I think if we're going to choose a game that defines this derby, I think it's important to say that the two games that define this derby weren't even derbies. This is what tells you most about the rivalry. The two games that define these derbies are Real Betis deliberately losing to get Sevilla relegated against Sporting Gijón. And then 3 years later, oh look, chance to give them one back. Sevilla deliberately losing to Real Oviedo to get Betis relegated. So much so that in the Sevilla-Oviedo game, Oviedo go 3-0 up. At which point, the goalkeeper is saying, this isn't right. Sevilla scored 2 goals as a way of kind of saying, well, we could if we wanted to, and then just let them win 3-2. It's brilliant. You talk to the players who played against them. I spoke to Denis Cheryshev, the father Dmitry Cheryshev, the father of Denis Cheryshev, and he's saying, I don't think they deliberately wanted to lose, but we had their fans, we're their opponents, lined up along the route, cheering our bus as we came in, cheering every attack that we had. Every attack from their team, they were booing, telling them to go back, telling them to not score. And he said, we reached the point where we were on the pitch trying not to laugh, whereas their players thinking, what do we do? What do we do? And what they did was lose.
Kind of know the feeling as a Spurs fan.
And before we
I
move
like
on,
the idea of assuming that Spurs' current malaise is all because it's some cunning plan to.
I was going to say, you mentioned the Europa League, Sid, and Sevilla, kings of the Europa League. That era started in 2014. In the last 16 in Europa League, Sevilla played Betis. Betis won the first leg 2-0 at the San P. Sevilla won the second leg 2-0 at the Beni V. Goes to penalties. Sevilla go through on penalties, go on to win Europa League, and then win it again, and then win it again.
Yeah, and I think for them, that is the one that says, right, we win this. Thing is, right now, it's not looking so good.
What do we say about Sevilla right now?
That they could go down, genuinely.
Yeah.
They absolutely could. They're bad enough, without doubt.
And someone was telling me that there is a Real Betis Levante maybe on the final day of the season. Maybe.
Well, let's go back to what we were saying a minute ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
If Betis have...
Because I promise, absolutely no doubt about it, if that is a chance to send Sevilla down, if losing to Levante helps send Sevilla down, I promise you, there's no two ways about it, the Betis fans will be cheering for Levante.
Anyway,
two ways about it.
You wanted a legend, Kitro. I mean, this is obvious. It's easy, isn't it? The two legends that define the Seville derby are the two players who've played the most Seville derbies, which is Jesus Navas and Joaquin.
I mean, presumably Sid is going to tell us someone from the 1920s.
Well, I was going to tell you a story about someone from the 40s, but I wasn't going to tell you about someone from the 1920s, which is a guy called Francisco Antúnez, who in 1945 moved from Betis to Sevilla. And the Betis fans tried to block him at the train station so he couldn't get on his train to go and sign the papers.
Physically block him.
Physically block him. They literally blocked the train station. They then did a whip round to try and pay him the money that it would take to stop him leaving. But the thing that kind of sums it up, and one of the arguments that you'll sometimes hear in Seville is that this is a division based on social class. Now, obviously, those kind of arguments, they stand up a little bit, but they don't always stand up entirely. But bear in mind that we're talking about 1945. We're talking about possibly the most famous of all of the... I was going to say Republican, but actually straight out communist orators, famously La Pasionaria, who's living in exile in Moscow, and on Radio Moscow describes this as another assault upon the proletarian by the oligarchy and by the bourgeoisie. So there you go.
Only you, Sid, would take a La Liga show about derbies in that direction.
And tell you about totalitarianism in the 1940s.
Before we move on to a different derby, a tip If you're going to visit, if you're going to attend the Seville Derby, what do we think?
Do not go in summer.
Do not.
Yeah, if the game is in June, if the game's at the very end of the season in June, yeah, it's probably not a great idea.
Or
It's probably
August,
not a great in
or
August.
even
idea in
September,
August.
yeah.
Actually, if you go in August, there'll be no one there. They'll all be in Cadiz. Because the one thing that the rest of Andalusia likes to remind Sevilla about is that you haven't got a beach. To which Sevilla says, yes, we have. We've got Cadiz, which doesn't go down too well in Cadiz.
But yeah, go if you can go.
Go in the spring as well. This is genuine. I promise I'm not making this up. Seville smells amazing in the spring. Yeah. Absolutely amazing because all the orange blossom is out and it's just a fantastic place to go in the spring.
Last week when I was at
it's true though, isn't it?
I was
it
at
really
the Copa del
is.
Rey. I was literally just walking through the streets. Oh, it smells so lovely. Oh, this is amazing. And then I stumbled into the Atletico Madrid sort of impromptu fan zone in the middle of the city, and that did not smell amazing at all.
Sweaty. Very sweaty. Yeah.
So there we go. That is the Seville Derby. A brief overview because, like we said, there's loads of stuff we could talk about, but we're going to move on to La Capital.
Yeah.
Madrid. The Madrid Derby. This is a derby, a proper derby, but it is slightly different to what we were talking about because it is not the same as the Seville Derby. If we're going to talk about a word to define this, what would your word be? I think I've got a good one. What's your word to define it?
I think the word's changed over the years. And I actually think some of the things that we're talking about with the Seville Derby can be carried across to Madrid. The idea of a social class division, all the rest of it, and the idea of inequality. Until recently, no city in world football, well, in European football, has had 2 finalists in the Champions League. So I think the answer to this question, in a word, is elite.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Go on. To define this, I would define this derby as fraternal. Because Atletico Madrid are, but not in a nice way, in like a
brothers
sibling,
who hate each other.
Sibling, yeah. Because Atletico Madrid are the smaller sibling, constantly competing with the bigger sibling, sometimes beating him up, and the bigger sibling is a little bit like, yeah, all right, mate, whatever, okay, it's fine.
I'll tell you what, when I'm bigger than you, you're so going to get it. Not that I'm speaking from experience
because
of saying that's my brother.
I've been to this derby many, many, many times, and at the Calderon and then at the Metropolitano, it is fierce. They properly hate Real Madrid. And then I've been to it at the Bernabeu, and it's been like, oh, okay, yeah, these guys are coming. All right, let's have a little derby. It's fine. Oh, what?
Yeah, it's also worth saying this derby feels different, I think, kind of internationally than it does in the city of Madrid. Because if you look at it from an international perspective around the world, of course, Real Madrid internationally have a much, much bigger fan base. In the city of Madrid, it's more even.
It really is.
It doesn't feel like big and small. It feels like big and bigger.
Well, yeah, big and bigger. Okay, yeah, because
is that the sequel to Dumb and Dumber?
Because, like I said, you can go to the Bernabeu and you can get Atletico Madrid fans sitting next to Real Madrid fans, and it's all right, it's fine. It's a bit like, okay, yeah, sit next to us, it's fine, okay. But vice versa at the Metropolitano would be not quite the same. Classic games, Sid. Classic games.
There are so many.
There are so many.
There was a night in Lisbon.
There was a night in Lisbon, and do you know what? I actually think, in a way, what I was inevitably going to do was talk about loads of things and say, but let's face it, it's the one in Lisbon. But you've gone straight to Lisbon, so let's face it, it's the one in Lisbon. And it's one in Lisbon for loads and loads of reasons. And the fundamental one is...
The 2014 Champions League final.
The fundamental one is, here's 2 teams from the same city in Lisbon. Here's 70,000 people driving down the A5, crossing the border and going to Lisbon and being together. And actually, the atmosphere being fantastic and there being no trouble
Can
at
you
all.
imagine that happening with any other cross-city rivalry?
Well, Spurs and Arsenal went to Lisbon.
But anyway, any of them, that would be horrible, really horrible. I probably wouldn't even go. But just imagine some of these rivalries. 70,000 people in the same city like that, it would be carnage, but it was nice. It was actually nice.
Until the outcome for Atleti fans. I was going to say, I think of this for Atleti fans, those of you here Atleti fans will understand. I mean, just imagine your club losing the Champions League final to your closest rivals twice in 3 years, and both times in really quite painful circumstances, the most painful circumstances possible, in extra time and on penalties.
Right, so let's do the backstory Let's do the unpacking thing again. Let's do the backstory of this. Let's go to what Phil said at the start, the idea of this being fraternal, but one of them is very definitely the big brother. And this is why some of the other games that we could have talked about, for example, the Copa del Rey final in 2013, which Atletico Madrid win at the Bernabeu in extra time against Real Madrid.
After 14 years.
Well, this is the thing. So it's the first time they've beaten them since 1999. The previous time they've beaten them in 1999, they've been relegated anyway. That you get a situation in which 25 games go by without them winning a derby. They do come back up to the first division. It takes them 2 years. They do come back up to the first division. The first game back, they draw 2-2 with Mono Burgos saving a penalty with his nose. There's blood everywhere, but he saved it with his nose. He's very pleased with himself. But they hadn't won in 25 games. They'd lost 10 in a row. And there was this feeling and this thing that you get of the idea of Atletico Madrid being cursed. They're El Pupas, they call them, the kind of the accidental, the accident-prone one, the cursed one. And basically, Real Madrid fans laugh at them. And they laugh at them for years. And then in 2013, they get in the Copa del Rey final and they beat Real Madrid. In 2014, they win the league title. The curse is broken. We're going to Lisbon. We're going to win the European Cup final against And that's why I think that final is so big, because you've got an Atletico Madrid team first of all, because you've got this final that's absolutely elite. The two biggest teams in Europe facing each other, and they're from the same city. Then you've got the idea that this is the end of the curse. We've broken it. But then the curse comes back again because you lose it in extra time. You're really unlucky. 2 years later, it happens on penalties.
I was working for Real Madrid TV at the time of both of these finals. And the 2014 final, obviously, I was with my colleagues. And before Sergio Ramos scores that goal, they were literally saying, this is the worst night
100%.
in Real Madrid history. This is the worst night in Real Madrid history.
Well, let's put the Real Madrid context in. So we've given you the Atletico Madrid context. The Real Madrid context is, at this point, Real Madrid are still looking for... I mean, it's funny now.
La décima.
They're looking for the 10th European Cup. I mean, I don't know what they're on now, 75 or something. Right? They're looking for the 10th European Cup, and it's become an obsession. It's been 14 years, which feels like an eternity for Real Madrid. My God, we're not going to... This 10th European Cup. Instead, a week before, Atletico Madrid won their 10th league title. This is all going wrong. And you go into the last minute, and they're going to lose the European Cup final.
To these guys.
To these guys.
Yeah.
And then Sergio Ramos
and
does
then they
what
don't.
Sergio Ramos does.
Yeah. Other classic games?
Well, I mean,
briefly,
within all of this, obviously you've got loads of other ones. You've got the 2 European Cup finals. You've got the 4-0 for Atletico Madrid, which seemed to reinforce this idea that they're really competing now. And I remember walking down out of the old Calderon, and you used to have to go out in the corners, and suddenly there was this big crowd. No one was moving. And it took ages to get out of the stadium in that corner and to go round. And it was because everybody had stopped to take a photograph of the scoreboard. Because genuinely, everyone's like, take a photo. This is never going to happen again. And that's the thing. So it's about that. And it's about the fact that it kept being really, really cruel. But in the end, Atletico Madrid broke the curse. But then when it got to Europe, they didn't. And they still can't.
The other game I was going to mention was going back to 1994. A brief word about this chap.
Raúl González Blanco, who was in the Atletico Madrid youth system until the genius president, Jesus Hill, said, what do we need a youth system for?
Yeah.
So he crossed the city, played for Real Madrid, became arguably the best player in their history. I mean, I say arguably because Cristiano Ronaldo, Alfredo Di Stefano, a handful of others would challenge that, but came to symbolise everything that Real Madrid are supposed to be, and yet he'd come from Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, and November 1994, his second game for Real Madrid. His second game
Honestly,
for Real Madrid is a derby.
Cannot believe how brilliant he was
his
at 17.
His first game at the Bernabeu, he scores his first goal for Real Madrid. If you go watch the goal, that's not a player scoring his first goal. That's a player scoring his 100th goal, the way he takes it.
As you say, it's his second game. The previous game was against Zaragoza, and he'd actually missed a load of sitters. He played quite well, but missed a load of sitters. And Jorge Valdano, who's the coach of Real Madrid at the time, and after whom Raúl's first son was named, had spoken to Raúl in the build-up to that game and said, I'd like to play you, but I'm a little bit, I'm not sure what to do because you're only 17 and so on. And Raúl turned around to him and said, if you want to win, play me. If you don't worry about it. And so Valdano was like, well, we'll play him then. And actually in that first game, he did look a bit nervous, but in this second game against Atletico, he was phenomenal.
And the other game I know you wanted to touch on, Sid, I think might be your pick.
I think it's my favourite, which isn't to say it's... I think the most symbolic, without doubt, is that first Champions League final. But my favourite, I think, is one that brings all of these threads together brilliantly. And that is the last ever European game played at the Vicente Calderón. And it's another European night, and it's another opportunity. Atletico Madrid maybe can break the curse domestically, but they can't do it in European football. They lose the first game 3-0 to Real Madrid. They go back to the Calderón, last European night at the Calderón, unless they win, of course. They go 2-0 up, and they are absolutely battering Real Madrid. Two things happened. And I talk about this a lot, so apologies if you've heard this before. But Luka Modric basically decides, I've got this. And basically, Luka Modric spends 20 minutes playing on his own. Give me the ball, run around a bit, calm this down, it's fine. One of the most amazing performances I've ever seen. And then Karim Benzema does that ludicrous piece of skill that leads to the Isco goal, and that's the end of it. Now, why do I like this game? Because with about 20 minutes to go, and it, at the risk of being sort of overblown here, it's poetic. Yeah. With about 20 minutes to go, the heavens open, and it starts to rain. And it rains like you have never seen
it was
before.
like a biblical
unreal. And that stadium wasn't particularly good on roofs. So the rain is pouring through, no one moves. Real Madrid go through and their fans are celebrating. Atletico Madrid go out and their fans are celebrating as well. Before the game, there's a banner, and this brings this whole thing together, this idea that, Real Madrid are the power, we're the people. Now, again, like lots of identities, that's a little bit of a myth, but it's there and it's powerful. And before the game, their banner says, proud of not being like you. And when they get knocked out, this is, if you like, the embodiment of that. They stay in the stadium and they celebrate the Atletico Madrid fans. Like, we're proud of what this team has done. We've taken the fight to, let's go to your phrase again, to the big brother, to the bully in the family. We've taken it to them and we've given them a bloody nose. And yeah, we've lost, but look at us celebrating this. And yeah, there's a pocket of them celebrating up there as well, but this is what makes us different, and this is what we love, and this is the way that we want to say goodbye to the Calderón. It was absolutely phenomenal.
And it's interesting, I was reading what you wrote that night, and you asked the question, because they were moving to the Metropolitano, you wrote, will things ever be the same again?
And what Simeone said was, it'll be the same people even if it's a different stadium. I think it's taken a while. I think they're getting there.
Yeah.
It's not the same, but I think they are getting there. And it was, look, I've always liked this. The road that leads to the Calderón, and I always felt that this embodied Atletico Madrid's identity and this idea that they were cursed and this idea that they weren't going to beat Real Madrid and that they were downtrodden, that
What's
they
it
were
called,
the people.
Sid?
It's called Melancholic's Way. What a brilliant name. Melancholic's Way. Pissed Off Avenue. Fucking Annoyed Street. It's brilliant.
Big game for them on Wednesday.
Yes.
In the Champions League
Against
semi-finals.
And it is all or nothing. The season rests on that for both teams.
For both teams, very much for both teams.
Hang on, have you given up already?
In the Premier League? Yeah, kind of. But let's see.
Spanish football podcast.
Yeah, should we choose a Madrid derby legend?
Yes.
But, derby legend. You want a derby legend?
Yeah.
Right, well, again, if we're going to talk about identity, and I realise that I feel a bit like this isn't entirely fair that I'm giving you the Atletico Madrid version of history. But in a way, Real Madrid's version of history doesn't need all this narrative. It's like, hey, there's the European Cup. Atletico Madrid are the ones that kind of have to build a story. And so for me, there isn't anyone. I mean, you could talk about Simeone. You could certainly talk about Luis Aragonés. There isn't anyone like Fernando Torres. Not least because Fernando Torres expressed this idea so well. I remember going to an interview when he was 18. And he was just bringing it all out. Real Madrid's fans, they're prisoners of a result. We're prisoners of a feeling. They don't feel their football. We love our football. If they didn't win, they wouldn't bother turning up. We do. We go down. Bear in mind that they'd just been down to the second division, and Torres had helped bring them back up to the first division. We fill the stadium every week in the second division. If they went to the second division, they wouldn't have any fans. He's 18, and he's giving the whole, look at that lot over there thing. And it was a real kind of embodiment. And this is why they loved him so much, because he embodied everything. And he also embodied their change. So he leaves them to go to Liverpool because he basically decides, look, this is never going to happen with Atletico Madrid. He'd never beaten Real Madrid when he left. He comes back 8 years later. He's been in the city 3 days. He plays Real Madrid in the Copa del Rey, and he scores, and they knock Real Madrid out.
We've got some lists here of potential legends, and they're all Atletico Madrid players.
Apart from Raúl,
which fits with this, because as I was saying, if you like, the storyline of this derby is kind of written by the losers. This idea, history is written by the winners, but in a way, it's not. The storyline is sometimes written by, I suppose, by those who need a storyline, rather than just a picture of a cup.
A recommendation for the Madrid derby. We do get asked quite a lot how to get tickets at the Bernabeu. It's actually gotten a lot harder since they turned it into a shiny spaceship. A lot of people want to go there.
And of course the capacity didn't increase.
And the capacity did not increase, really. So it's tough. It's tough to get tickets for that. The Metropolitano is more accessible. In terms
and
of
if you
getting
can
tickets.
go, like we said, it's not the Calderon, but it is great. And we've said it might be the noisiest stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it holds the sound in
Spain,
really,
it's
really
up there.
well. It's very noisy. We mentioned this briefly the other day in the pod that it was kind of a very modern stadium with quite a lot of space between seats, and they filled in all the spaces. They kind of squeezed everyone in, and I think that's been really good for them. Anyway, a piece of advice for this derby, recommendation. You know what? The funny thing, the problem with the new stadium is it's not actually a place where you could recommend somewhere to go before the game. It doesn't really have
new stadium?
The Metropolitano.
Right.
The Bernabeu is where
Yes.
still is where it always was, obviously, and so that does a little bit. I don't have a recommendation.
How about my
go
piece
on.
of advice is not advice for you or for us, but it's a bit more generic. It's be careful what you wish for. Because what's the one thing here we haven't talked about? The very, very famous banner that the Real Madrid fans held up, aimed at Atletico, which you can see there, and it says, looking for a decent or dignified rival, or a dignified opponent for a decent derby, wanted, because they felt they hadn't got one, because as you said, they went so many years without losing.
What you can't quite see is the top left corner is a symbol of Segunda Mano, which is a kind of a loot star magazine, a classified adverts magazine. So this was done as a classified advert, looking for a decent, a worthy rival for a decent derby. And Rathonaki basically means, ask here.
Yeah, and they asked for it, and they
asked
got
for it, and they got it. The thing is, of course, they would argue, yeah, we did get it, but then we went to Lisbon. So this whole thing comes full circle with this image, which is perfect.
I mean, it is a great fixture, also definitely worth visiting, but my recommendation is go to it at the Metropolitano rather than the Bernabeu to get the full derby hatred.
Well, because it's angrier.
Yeah, because it feels like more.
And there's more on the line. Yeah.
All right, let's move on from the capital. We will go to the magical, mystical land of Galicia. There we go.
Which is how we always introduce any sort of segment about Galicia.
But it's also how they
always
do.
have.
Yes.
Like you think it's a cliche, and then you ask a Galician to explain it, and they'll say the same thing.
A word to describe the Galician derby is Celta Vigo against Deportivo La Coruña, by the way. A word to describe the Galician derby, Sid. We've got salty.
Yeah, I like salty because it's the Atlantic, it's the waves crashing in. You've got Depor's Riazor Stadium literally right next to the beach.
Foggy.
Wet.
Are we selling it?
I'm going to justify that in a minute, by the way.
Witches.
Oh, I'm going to justify that.
We've got witches here.
Yeah.
Witches. The idea of Galicia being mystical is this idea that there's spirits, that there's witches and wizards and what would you call it? Kind of fairies, I suppose. But we've got a fairy that doesn't sound like fairy. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a pixie.
Pixie. Yeah.
I don't know. We've gone off on it. But this idea that they're there. Obviously, it's the Atlantic coast. It's a community, a region that looks to the sea, and that brings with it all sorts of characteristics. The idea of
ocean. Ocean is the
exactly,
word.
exactly.
Yes.
Looks out to the ocean, and there is nothing. And the idea that they live off that economically, that they live off that in terms of the creation of a character, an identity, a personality. It's all about the sea, which brings in all sorts of notions of death. It brings in all sorts of notions of being weather beaten. Brings in all sorts of notions of a kind of. People talk a lot about Mourinho, the idea that you're a longing for something that's been lost, a longing for
of course, Galicians were the explorers and the travellers, and
absolutely. And what do Argentinians call all Spaniards?
Yeah.
Gallegos.
Yeah.
Because they were traditionally all Galicians.
Should we say as well, of course, the first two derbies on our list were
I had a word,
City.
by the way.
Go on, Kitro, go on.
I had a word.
Go on.
Oh.
Distance.
Well, there you go. That's exactly what I'm saying, because the first two derbies were city derbies.
Yeah.
Within a city.
Yes.
This is two different cities, and there is a.
And they're quite a long way apart as well.
150 kilometres between these two cities, Vigo and La Coruña.
Have you ever tried to get around Galicia? Because that's not 150 kilometres on a straight line motorway, nice and easy there in an hour.
Yeah.
That is, are we nearly there yet?
Yeah.
It really is. It's
like
not
Arsenal
that easy to do.
Lincoln or something.
Yeah.
It's just like they're so far away.
And yet, it's fierce.
Arsenal
Yeah.
and Lincoln. How far is it from
I don't
London
know.
to
I've just
Lincoln?
made it up, but whatever. Just ask them somewhere North
Is
London.
that
somewhere
because we were
100
talking
miles
about
in the
we were talking about
Yeah.
imps, and you've just got all Lincoln on us? Yeah.
Very good. But yes, so they're from the same region, but they're very far apart, and they absolutely bloody hate each other. But at the same time, there is this sense of Gallego-ness.
Yes.
Galician-ness.
Definitely.
Which is highlighted pre-match.
Oh, you mentioned the singing of the singing of the anthem
Yeah, I mean,
collectively.
we couldn't get a clip of it. But before the game, before the Galician derby,
Maybe you could sing it.
They sing the Galician anthem, like the regional anthem, all together, everybody together in the stadium, away fans and home fans, like, we are all Galician. La, la, la.
That is exactly how it goes, by the way.
Accurate translation.
Galician. And then it starts.
They would
and
not be
hate
at
each
all
other.
offended
Yes.
to think that that's
So how even or uneven is this derby? We said the Seville derby is even. We said the Madrid derby is big and bigger. What's this?
Right. Well, at the moment, obviously, it's uneven because Celta are in the first division and Depor aren't. There's been moments in history where Celta have been bigger, and of course you come into the late 90s or the mid to late 90s, and then Depor winning the league in 2000.
And playing in a Champions League.
Playing in the Champions
semi-final.
League, and that is a particularly Galician story as well. You know, a president who takes on the club, who builds the club, who really and truly is spending money they haven't got in an era in which there's a lot of money coming into Galicia for all sorts of fairly nefarious reasons. That is kind of this idea of an emergence of Depor as a powerhouse that they previously hadn't been, which I think plays into, if you like, the irritation with them from Vigo. There's also a socio-cultural thing here, and again, I keep saying it, these identities sometimes not entirely true, but it doesn't mean that people don't buy into them. Myths matter, even when they're myths. And the famous phrase is that while Vigo works, A Coruña enjoys itself or relaxes. This idea that one's a service industry, the other is much more an industry based on the shipyards, based on the fishing. And fishing in Galicia, by the way, isn't fishing the way you imagine it. It's shell fishing, and there's two fundamental ways of doing it. One of these platforms that are out in the sea, and the other are people literally wading into the sea themselves, into the Rias Baixas, into low rivers, to pick sea shellfish.
Like Barry Aspas's mum.
Like Barry Aspas's mum. And it's incredibly dangerous. And it's genuinely dangerous, and it's part of their identity, this idea that you are taking a risk all the time. There's a reason why this is known as the coast of death. And that is part of that kind of idea of mysticism and spirits and everything that goes with it.
You mentioned the great man, icon of this podcast, Barry Aspas. Maybe we don't talk about him as much as we used to a year or two ago.
He doesn't play as much as he...
He's pictured here. I think we've got some clips of him scoring twice for Celta in I think it was a 3-1 win away at Depor back in 2017. Celta won 3-1, I think, at Ria Thought. As you said, Sid, not a derby that can currently take place, given that Depor are chasing promotion and Celta are in the top flight.
Yeah, and Barry Aspas, who said that one of his favourite moments growing up was from a derby. He didn't choose a goal. He didn't choose an amazing save. He didn't choose a fantastic win. He chose the moment that Wagner Love, who played for Celta at the time, booted Diego Tristan up in the air, down by the corner flag. This is one of my favourite moments. He also said in an interview, he said, I think I'd have a real problem if I had a girlfriend and discovered she supported Depor. I think I'd have to end it there. I mean, I can't fault his commitment to the Celta cause.
That's Barry scoring a very tasty free kick.
I mean, he's proper good, isn't he, Barry? I know everyone in England laughs at him because he took a corner badly once, but I think he's brilliant.
Before we make him our legend, did you find a classic game, Steve?
Yeah, I think we did. And this is where I'm going to justify my choice of words. 2013. 6 years since the two teams have played each other in the first division. And so there's footage of the Celta de Vigo fans in the stadium. The bus turns up and there's a picture on the side of the bus and it's an advert and it just says for sale, and they're taking the piss out of the fact that Deportivo are in financial crisis and looking for a buyer. And the cameras focus on a fan up in the stands. He's got his hood down like this and he's giving it large.
Go on, what is he doing?
Well, he's grabbing his crotch and he's telling them to come and he's being quite rude, and he's being really, really aggressive. Whoa, 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 all the rest of it. Anyway, all this would be Well, I was going to say it would be fine. Maybe we shouldn't condone this kind of thing. We should condone this kind of thing.
That's not what we want to see, Sid.
It's not what we want to see. No, definitely not. Definitely not. All of this would be sort of fine if it wasn't for the fact that the person doing this was Hugo Mayo. Hugo Mayo is a Celta player. He was suspended. He was there with the Iago Aspas fan club on the day in which Iago Aspas had been sent off, and he's the one giving it large to the fans from Deportivo. Celta actually lose that game. Iago Aspas is sent off. This footage comes out. They realise it's Hugo Mayo, who thinks that no one realises. His phone has run out of battery, so people are sending him a message saying, stop it, you're going to get us in trouble. He's like, shit, he didn't find out till the following day. And to come full circle as why I describe this derby as wet, one of the Celta players is asked about this after the game. He said, yeah, we're really, really disappointed. We're really, really annoyed. But this sometimes is what happens. If you go to bed with children, you wake up covered in piss.
Wow, what does that mean?
Well, I suppose it means that if you take the risk of, having children, immature people on the pitch in the stands, you're going to, you're going to end up covered in piss.
Okay.
I like it. Yes. That Hugo Mayo story is terrific, and the footage, which I actually tried to find the footage, and it seems to be deleted online.
Yeah.
You can't find it online. Yeah. But I remember the images. I was living in Spain at the time, and it was pretty funny. What are we recommending?
Well, at the risk of stating the bleeding obvious, we're recommending you that you eat seafood, and good seafood. Because it's Galicia. That's what you're going to do, isn't it?
Yeah, eat fresh seafood as close to the sea, as physically close to the sea as
you mean
can be.
Don't get it from Gamba Fresh?
No, not your favourite frozen food emporium, Sid, but no, literally, right next to a port.
Well, I mean, let's go to A Coruña then, shall we? And say that if you ever, I don't know if some of you will have seen pictures of Riazor, some of you will have been to Riazor. It is on the beach. It's absolutely fantastic. I think that Racing Santander, and I'm struggling to think of it. Oh, Gijón as well. Right on the beach. It's just something magical about a stadium right on the beach. And actually their stadium is built in a way that makes it look like a ship. It's fantastic.
Mm. Did we pick, so is Barry Aspas our legend? Do we pick a Depor legend, Sid? There are so many candidates, sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously with Depor you kind of feel like you've got to go to the Super Depor era. And I think no one defines them better than Fran. But we've been trying to look at legends that sort of somehow define the derby.
Yeah.
And Fran is too gentle.
Yeah.
And to ever get involved in that. But he symbolises Depor better than anybody else. A guy who played with them in the third tier, all the way up to the first tier, very, very quiet, can barely get a sentence out, or at least back then he could barely get a sentence out. You listen to him now and he does. But he just... And in a way, that kind of embodies the idea that Galicians are kind of a bit mysterious. They don't give you a clear answer. There's the cliche that says you see a Galician on the stairs, you don't know if he's going up or down, that he'll answer a question with a question because he'll be evasive. And that was kind of Fran as a player.
Okay. His son's decent.
His son is quite decent.
Yes, Nico Gonzalez.
One other player as well, he's pictured here on the left, a man who played for both teams, Bajinho, played for Celta, Depor and Real Madrid in the middle.
Yeah, and he'd been top scorer with Real Madrid in Spain. He always claimed that he didn't make it to the 1950 World Cup because he was too left wing. He was a reader of
not on the pitch, but
not on the pitch. He was centre forward. Very good. He was a reader of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, and he was just this intellectual character. And he always claimed that the reason he didn't play for Spain was that he was in the Spain team in 1948. Obviously, we're talking about the relatively early years of the dictatorship, and at half time in a game, a general comes into the dressing room. He doesn't know the general's name, although he finds out later, and the general basically says, what you lot need is more bollocks and more Spanishness. And of course this guy can't quite help himself, and he starts to laugh, and he doesn't play for the national team again. So don't laugh. Stop it.
I think he's still top 10 all-time La Liga goal scorers, or certainly top 15. He's up there.
Yeah,
he's right up there.
Yeah, I think you might be right, yeah.
Okay, so those are potential derby legends for the Galician derby.
And by the way, let's hope that we get more Galician derbies very soon if Depor go up.
Fingers crossed, because it is a fixture
very good. And also, it'd be quite
like.
nice just to see Depor in the first division, wouldn't it?
Certainly would.
It's where they belong.
All right, let's go to another derby. Maybe a controversial selection here, or maybe it isn't. The Valencian derby. The Valencian derby. There are many derbies from the region of Valencia, where is Elche there, Villarreal are there, Castellón are there. Valencia and Levante are the two clubs from the city of Valencia. We were actually we were thinking, do we even put this in? Is this worthy of TSFP
But
defining derbies?
Why the doubts?
Because it's not great. It's not a great derby.
Or because it's too uneven? Is that the...
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not a great derby. And it should be, because Valencia is Spain's third city. The city has, loves its football. Levante are smaller than Valencia, but still have a fantastic little stadium, terrific number of supporters. This should be bigger than it is.
Yeah, and Valencia are a giant club with what
giant.
might be the best stadium in Spanish football, in Mestalla.
And yet this derby just feels meh. So what's the word?
Well,
meh.
that's why the word, you can choose two words that mean completely opposite things. And I'm going to have to cheat again. One of those words is close. And the other of those words is, I don't know if this is, can I make this one word? Is far away. Because that's the thing, the distance between these two teams is gigantic. And yet it is the closest derby in the whole of Spain. Are you ready for this? As the crow flies, from Valencia's ground to Levante's ground, 2.4 kilometres. It's the closest in the whole of Spain. It's 3.2 kilometres in Seville. It's 4.2 kilometres between Getafe and Leganés, although I challenge you to try and walk it.
Do not walk it. It's motorway.
Yeah, exactly. It would be great fun to try that. Well, no, it would actually be lethal to try it. 5 kilometres 5.3 between Barca and Espanyol. These guys are the closest, but in terms of the level of the two teams, they might well be the furthest apart.
So if and when Valencia move, if they do leave Mestalla, will it still be the closest?
No, I don't think so. But the new Mestalla is not that far from that. I don't know what the distance will be. You've caught me there, Al. I wish you'd told me you were going to ask that. I'd have looked it up for you.
I was impressed.
So I think that's it. I'm going to level with you. I messaged a colleague of mine who's a Levante historian to say to him, what would you choose if you had to choose?
Levante historian. That is an interesting job.
Yeah. Don't be nasty.
No, I'm just
I said, what would you choose? And we're talking about this isn't a very good derby. He quite literally sent back a message which suggested a 0-0 draw. Now, admittedly, it could have been like a really feisty 0-0 draw with loads of people sent off. It wasn't. It was a 0-0 draw in week 37 when Levante survived. There's another game in week 37, which is far better. Levante win 4-2 against Valencia in 2007. That's also week 37.
I was going to say the clip I've got here. No, the clip I've got here I think is another 4-2.
Yeah, there's two 4-2s.
Not that 4-2. This is Levante 2, Valencia 4 from 2019, in which I think Levante went 2-0 up and still somehow managed to blow it.
There's a little bit of a parallel with what Phil was saying about the Madrid derby. Obviously, as they say in Spanish, salvando las distancias, right? It's not quite the same, but which is that this is a derby that exists much, much more for Levante fans than it does for Valencia fans in terms of the idea that, this is really feisty. No, it's not. And Valencia fans will go, Levante, little Levante, and Levante will want to give a little bit back. But there is also... Reading through some of the press reports of that 4-2, not this one, the other one, sorry, coordination and all that, that Levante win, there was a feeling that actually maybe this party happened because there was kind of a bit of a gentleman's agreement that, they shouldn't go down, they should win this game, or at least there was no real edge to it. And I think that's part of it. Should we give them some amazing statistics? I mean, the most significant one of all, the one that sort of defines it, is that Levante have never finished ahead of Valencia. Never. There is a social difference, in theory. Now, again, I'm a bit uneasy about this, but in theory, the social distance. Levante's kind of story is about being emerging from the port area of the city, being the kind of the ship workers, being the people who are down on the docks, being that kind of hardcore maritime working class identity, which Valencia isn't. The thing is, Valencia is such a big club that the idea that Valencia are anything other than kind of a cross-class club is just nonsense, and there's plenty of working class people there. But the storyline, if you like, sort of says, we're the ones from down by the port. There was actually a nice article in one of the papers a couple of years ago, and it said it did it by postcode, where the fans are from in Valencia. I think it was, I did write it down, but I haven't got it in front of me now. I think it was 32 postcodes in Valencia, and there were more Valencia fans in 30 of the 32, and only 2 more for Levante.
Right next to the stadium.
And the port area and the stadium. Yeah.
So it's a bit uneven, but it's a derby that we felt we had to stick in because it is from Spain's third city.
A legend or two?
Well, I wanted to include Juan Fran just because I could then give you the useless fact that I love about Juan Fran.
Which one?
He's a qualified hairdresser.
Juan Fran Torres.
Yeah.
Is he?
No, not that Juan Fran. The other Juan Fran. The one who
thing,
played for
there are a lot of
Spain.
Juan Frans,
Played for Spain, played for both of these two teams, and cuts hair. There you go.
Okay. That makes him a legend.
He's in.
Derby legend.
Derby legend.
Kitro, you were saluting.
I was saluting El Comandante.
El Comandante Morales. It definitely helps to have a good nickname, doesn't it?
Yes.
To achieve legendary status.
Yes. El Comandante Morales is still there.
What I love about his nickname is that there is literally no reason for it.
He gave it to himself.
He gave it to himself, and it stuck.
Did he really?
Yeah. One day he decides to salute.
That's a bit much.
His dad's an
guys, call me Comandante.
His dad's an
yeah?
electrician. His mum's a cleaner. There's no military background in the family. There's no reason for this. He hasn't been in the army. He didn't even make it to professional football till he was 24. He was playing football sala, playing in Parla in Madrid, little town outside Madrid. He doesn't make it to the first division until he's 27. He has one game where he feels really that there's a lot of pressure on him. He scores a goal. He salutes. He calls himself a Comandante, and it sticks. And I promise you, it sticks like properly sticks. No one. I would be willing to bet that half of Spain doesn't know what his first name is. They think his first name is Comandante.
It doesn't help that the name on the back of his shirt has had initials which are not
exactly
his name.
Yeah, a lot of players do that. That drives me mad. But he is Comandante Morales. He is a bit of a legend. He left Levante.
Yeah. They weren't very happy.
No, well, they weren't very happy. And there's a nice quote from him when he left. He said, "Look, they'd gone down. He has a chance to leave to go to Villarreal, and he said, for the first time in 11 years, the time since he's been at the club, I decided to think of myself and not Levante." It didn't really work, that. What did work was coming back and getting them promoted again. And there's an amazing bit of radio footage. I absolutely love this. The night that Levante get promoted back to the first division, they get him live on the radio, and he's in the stadium, and they've got a reporter in the stadium. They've got a reporter back in Valencia. I can't remember where they were playing, away from home, back in Valencia with the fans celebrating. And the reporters, they decide, well, tell you what, we'll just put him on with the fans. Mm-hmm. They go, "Oh, Morales, I love you. Oh, man, I love you. Oh, where are you? We're at the square where the fountain is." And I go, "What time are you going to go?" "Oh, wait, we're coming back. Wait for us, Oh, I love you. And it comes back to Morales, and he said, "You know what?" He said, "I've gone a year without having a beer." He said, "I went to a mate's wedding last summer, and I drank all the beer there is to drink. And I've gone a year without having a beer because I knew this was so important to bring us back up. And tonight I'm going to drink all the beer there is to drink again."
Nice.
So there you go.
It's a bit like me working up to this podcast. I haven't had a beer for a while.
Valencia have many legends.
Yeah.
Can you pick one, Sid?
But these are Derby legends.
Yeah.
Specific Derby legends.
Yeah, and we come back to that thing that we've been talking about before, the idea that the story is told, if you like, by the other club.
Yeah.
We're focused on underdogs, aren't we, in the show? Yeah.
Well,
that's not a bad thing.
That's right.
We recommend eating paella.
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
When
we're
you're in
going to
Valencia.
Malvarosa.
We're going to La Pepica. La Pepica. That's where I go. On the Malvarosa beach, frequented by Ernest Hemingway, apparently.
What, still?
Yeah. And now you.
And now me.
Yeah.
And lots of
I know who I'd rather read.
As well.
In terms of the current state of this derby, we're worried about Valencia, aren't we?
Well,
of course, Levante,
there's a great headline.
Worried about Valencia. Levante,
Yeah, because you assume that Levante are already gone.
Yeah.
You see, you're asking the wrong person, well, the wrong people, because me and Kitro are in this really weird position now. Lots of teams we don't necessarily hate. God, we hate them. When your team is in relegation trouble, everyone around you, you just want them to lose all the time. So, frankly,
how angry were we at Elche the other day for beating Atletico Madrid? We were so angry.
Yeah. Angry with Atletico as well, who are doing their best to let everybody else beat them, except you and me.
Yeah. Right, beat them.
There was, when they faced each other in February, Valencia and Levante, one of the headlines of the papers was the most dramatic derby in history, because it was the first time they could both go down.
Yes.
And they really could.
Could still happen. Could still happen. All right. We're edging towards the end of the first half, but we normally like to end the first half and the second half with a game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Come on.
Thank you. Who would like to play the game?
We need 2 volunteers.
They don't know what the game is yet. It could be really dark.
Okay.
Be careful.
Yes. And yes. Yes, you and you.
Come on up, guys.
Come on up.
Come on up.
So, guys, we are playing. It's a game I think we played last year as well.
I think we do it every year.
I think we do it every year. It's Who Said This? You have to guess who said the following statement. Multiple choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just for fun. You're both going to get a prize, so it's all right.
No pressure.
It's fine. But here we go. It's all about...
Yeah, all about the Seville Derby.
All about the Seville Derby. We've got 4 questions all about the Seville Derby. So here's the first one. Who said this? I'm the most important man in Seville after the Pope. Was it Sergio Ramos? Was it Jose Maria del Nido Sr.? Was it Jose Maria del Nido Jr.? Or was it De Nilsson? Del Nido Sr. And your guess is? Sergio Ramos. It was Del Nido Sr.
1-0.
Very good. Point to you, my friend.
I'll keep track of the score.
You keep track of the score. I'm trying to
You're trying to hide the answers.
Yeah. All right, who said this? I don't even want them to win matches that they play in training sessions. Was it Manuel Ruiz de Lopera? Was it Julio Baptista? Beast. Was it Joaquín Caparrós? Or was it Joaquín Sanchez? That's your guess? The other Joaquin. Other Joaquin is correct.
2-0.
2-0. Flying. Oof. We didn't even ask your name. What's your name? Anil. And your name? Alex and Anil. Double A. Okay. Here's another one. There's absolutely no comparison. Our fans are so much better than theirs. Was it Jesus Navas who said this? Was it Luis Fabiano? Was it Sergio Ramos? Or was it Freddy Canute? Luis Fabiano? It was Sergio Ramos.
Still 2-0.
Someone said it's got to be Ramos.
I like the idea of Freddy Canute being that bold and that you know,
like mild-mannered,
the
friendly.
most mild man on the planet.
And who said the following, finally? After winning the derby, he said, whoever gets home before 5 a.m. is getting fined. Was it Juan de Ramos? Was it Joaquin Sanchez? Was it Pepe Mel? Or was it Finidi George? It was.
Yeah. Correct. Final score, 3-1. A 3-1 win for
Congratulations, Anil.
Congratulations. Now,
Brilliant.
Stay where you are. Both of you are going to get prizes. As is traditional, we've got our fantastic selection of La Liga shirts, a grab bag of shirts. The winner can choose first. You'll both get to choose a shirt from the bag. And you also get a book and a mug as well. So I'm going to get the grab bag now. Winner chooses first.
We should say, by the way, you say a book. It's a brilliant book.
It's not his. It's not his book. It's not his book.
You see,
it's not his book.
That was fantastic, Tom. It is a brilliant book. It's not mine. It's significantly better than mine. Brendan's in here somewhere. I don't know where he is. But do read this book. Al, do you want to get it out and show everyone so they can... is it in the bag?
He's doing the grab bag.
Come on.
He's doing the grab bag.
Here we go. There we go.
There we go. So, you've gone for the La Real. Very nice. There are some really quite random shirts in there. I'm not going to lie. No one's gone for the Almeria 2015. Okay. That's a treat for later. There is... Yeah, Tenerife 2 years ago. No? Okay.
That Tenerife shirt's lovely, by the way.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's very nice.
There we go. Oh, got the Atleti. There we go.
I do like those.
Bravo! There will be another game at the end of the second half as well, and you could be up here choosing some out-of-date La Liga shirts. So,
don't we call them retro now?
Retro. After the tremendous success of the La Liga Retro weekend, this is the retro ball.
Well done,
as
guys.
well. This is the only ball we have, so we're not giving that away. Okay, 15-minute interval. Please go and buy lots and lots and lots of drinks. Order some food if you want some as well, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks.
We are about to start second half. Good job, everyone. Spend lots of money at the bar. That's fantastic. Well done. Lots of drinking. Just looking at some shirts here. We're very pleased that everybody's representing shirts. We have got Malaga, Oviedo, Depor, La Real, Girona, Europa, Sabadell. Wow. Very nice. Valencia. What we got there? Nastic de Tarragona. Did you win that in one of our previous? No, you actually bought that. Okay, that's decent. Nice. Osasuna representing Leganés. And he's got a Super Pepino with him. Oh my God. Hey!
Right there. Okay, so how many people have we annoyed with our comments during the first half? Not too many.
I don't think we offended too many people. I saw a better shirt. There's a Barca shirt as well.
There's some Madridistas at the back.
Madridistas at the back. Athletic Club. Wonderful. Good. That's what we like to see. Nice spread. Nice spread. Because Spanish football is not just about Real Madrid and Barca. We know that. Okay. So, we start the second half of the show by talking about a really good derby. A terrific derby. In the north of Spain. Not that one. This one. Yes. The Basque derby. Which is, as we always say, a very special and unique game of football. Because they don't hate each other that much.
So my question is, does that make it better? Does it make it less of it? Do we want a bit of aggro, a bit of niggle, a bit of, what do you want your derby to feel like? Do we want a derby to be friendly?
It's like everybody's sitting there, yeah, it doesn't matter, it's fine, we're all Basque, this is fantastic.
But it's not true.
I mean, it's kind of true.
No, exactly. That's why. So the answer to Al's question is it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Because the fact that it's friendly doesn't make it any less fierce. So they go and they drink together and they sit together in many cases, and then they go onto the pitch and kick 7 shades of shit out of each other. And that's the way it should be. There's a great line. I can't remember who it was that said it to me years ago now. So, why would you argue when you can have a fight? And it kind of, I quite like that. Let's not argue. It's a sort of...
Was that in relation to the Basque derby?
Yeah, the idea that get on the pitch, have a fight. Why argue? Get on the pitch, have a fight.
Get it out of your system.
And then at the end of it, go, well,
And then go and eat some pinchos.
Now, I think we shouldn't disguise the fact that there is a little bit of edge. There is some tension. Yeah. There are moments when they dislike each other. But broadly speaking, this has been... To go back to what you were saying earlier, fraternal. It's been a when Real Sociedad won the league,
a different kind of fraternal, like
very
a sort
different
of unified.
No, absolutely,
rather than sort of hatred of your sibling. Yeah.
And it's when Real Sociedad won the league in 1981, Athletics fans celebrated it. There was a real sense the two clubs. I mean, let's not go too far. Let's not claim they celebrated as in they went out and they were driving around the city and beeping the horns and diving into fountains. But they were pleased about this, partly because of the moment, of course. You're talking, only 5 years after the death of Franco, 6 years after the death of Franco.
I would say in large part because of the moment.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And because of what it symbolised, and the fact that you then get 2 titles for each of the 2 big Basque clubs at the start of the 80s, and everything that symbolises, and that idea. And there was the chant from some Basque fans when Athletic, Real Sociedad, Osasuna were all first division teams, and Alaves hadn't come up yet, and they were on their way up. And the chant was, "Ya somos tres, solo falta Alaves." There's 3 of us now. The only one missing is Alaves. The idea that they wanted everyone up in the first division, and there was a sense of a shared identity and a shared community and importance.
I mean, some of the pictures we got here, literally fans of the 2 teams arm in arm. And that is one of your favourite views in Spanish football, I think, Sid, looking down towards San Mamés in Bilbao.
So you can see San Mamés at the end, and this is the new San Mamés, but the old San Mamés was on the same site. The pictures rotated, but the old San Mamés was on the same site, and it used to be, just like it is now, this is Pozas, the street that runs towards San Mamés, where it feels like every doorway is a bar on the way down. And the Pozas is kind of like a portal, because it's narrow, and at the end of it you can see the stadium. And with the old stadium, it was exactly where they put the badge. So at the end of the road, you could see the badge, just nothing else, the badge. And it's like if you go into Pozas, you can't end up anywhere else other than the stadium. It's like you're carried along to it Admittedly, you're not going in a straight line because you're going in and out of the bars, but you're carried along to it. And there's a real sense that this is kind of like I don't know what you call it, I suppose the heart of this club, of the stadium as well. One of the big success stories of a new stadium, by keeping it in the same place, keeping the same liturgy, keeping the same community, keeping the same pre-game atmosphere. And I think that is partly because that's all bound up in what they are and what they want to be.
In terms of kind of tradition and culture and all these unique elements, this might be the number one derby.
Well, I mean, you know,
in that sense,
we've been asking in all of these cases for a word, and I think the word for this one is identity. Maybe even more powerfully than any of the other derbies. All of these derbies have an identity element to it. Of course they do. Everybody identifies with their club, and every fan thinks their club is special. You go to the Basque derby and you think, yeah, they're right. They're actually right. I mean, there's a really simple way of saying it. These two met each other. I've got the statistics here because I wanted to check that, that I wasn't going to get it wrong. When they met in the Copa del Rey semi-final, 2 months ago? Of the, here we go. Of the 22 players that started that game, 18 of the 22 had come through the youth academies at the two clubs, and 15 of the 22 were Basque. And that, by the way, is if we don't count Navarre as Basque. And of course, for a lot of people in the Basque country, Navarre does culturally, socially, politically, not administratively, from their point of view, count as Basque. So the numbers are even higher. You're talking about a part of the country that accounts for only 4% of the population of Spain, only 1.9% of the territory, and yet produces two gigantic clubs because the football tradition there is so entrenched, because the sense of identity and the sense of who they are is so powerful.
If we talk about a classic game to represent this derby, there is one that very much springs to the mind, not necessarily for the football. I don't even know how this game finished, but the Ikurriña game, Sid, is the sort of defining moment.
Well, we were talking a minute ago about the moment and the context. This is in 1976. At this point, the Basque flag is still illegal. This Basque flag in this picture, the two players are the two captains, Ignacio Cotabarria and José Ángel Iribar. Iribar's the goalkeeper, who is about the most mythical figure in Spanish football history. Just about. This is the guy that when he celebrated his 80th birthday, goalkeepers all over Spain played in plain black shirts to pay homage to him, because there's this sense of him embodying everything that you want tradition and history and commitment and identity and everything to be. And this is them coming onto the pitch with a Basque flag at this point that is still illegal. It's worth pointing out that this Basque flag was made by one of the players' sisters and smuggled into the stadium. And they walk onto the pitch with this flag. And you're right. It's just occurred to me. I don't know what the score was.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what the score was. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Any other games where we do know the score and it was classic?
We know lots of other games with scores.
Should have probably checked that one.
Yeah, no, we know lots of games with scores. Would you like to go through some of them, or do you want to just choose the best one?
Well, I mean, these two meeting in cup finals is very big.
So here's the thing, right?
It was big. Even though there were no fans, it was big.
Well, right. That's the thing. I was going to pick some highlights from that game to show, but you watch the highlights, and the fact that the stadium is empty because it was during the pandemic, it's not the same.
No, and last week on Saturday night when Real Sociedad won the final, there was one phrase that stuck with me more than any other from Mikel Oyarzabal, who, of course, scored the winning goal when they met in the Copa del Rey final in 2021. It was actually a 2020 final, but they'd waited a year to play it. And he scored the winning goal there, and, of course, he scored again in the final last weekend, because Mikel Oyarzabal scores in finals. He's played 6 finals, and he scored in all of them in his career. And the phrase that really stuck with me was, after the game, he's asked about it. He's asked about the previous final, and he says, "Seeing this today, with all of our fans here, makes me feel even more sorry about what happened 5 years ago." Not joyous that we won it, but no one's taking that away, and no one's claiming that it's anything other than an amazing achievement to have won the Copa del Rey and to have won the first ever All-Basque Copa del Rey final. But to say it actually made me feel, the phrase was incluso más pena, even more pity, even more pain at not having had the fans in last time.
He actually said before this recent Cup final that it was possibly the biggest game in his career.
Yes.
Someone who has played in some pretty bloody big games in his career, but this one was the biggest one because the fans were there.
Because they were there and because it carried with it, if you like, this final was like winning the last one as well. Or certainly celebrating this final was like saying, we'll celebrate both of these. And this is why I think, so you say which is the most important Basque derby ever? I think that the answer is not the final they played 5 years ago, but I also think the answer is the final they played 5 years ago. And I'm going to explain.
Suitably cryptic.
I'm going to explain why. It's not because this game is all about the people. It's all about their communities. It's all about their societies. It's all about their identification, what it means to the people, what it does. And we saw that in the celebrations when Athletic won the final, not against Real Sociedad 2 years ago, and did that incredible celebration with the Gabarra. I think we saw it this week in the celebrations in Donosti when Real Sociedad won the final. So that's why it's not the best Basque derby, because there were no fans in the stadium. But it's also why it was. Because they played that final in 2021. It's the 2020 final. Those two clubs said during the pandemic, we want to wait for our fans. And they waited as long as they would be allowed. They played the 2020 final 1 week before the 2021 final because basically they've been told your cut-off point is next year's final. You cannot play last year's final after next year's final, if you see me, after this year's final. So they waited as long as they could, and they still had to play it without fans. And this is why I think that empty stadium is actually the best possible demonstration of what these clubs are, because I don't want to cast aspersions on any other club in Spain. But I think I'm fairly certain that no other pair of finalists would have done that. No other pair of finalists would have said, no, we're not playing. We're waiting. We want our fans to be there. We're not doing this. If we have to wait a year, we wait a year. If we have to not go into Europe, which, by the way, happened.
Yeah, that happened.
We will not go into Europe because our communities have to be there. And the terrible tragedy is that it still wasn't enough waiting a year. But I think the symbolism of an empty stadium is these two teams waited. And they waited for their people. And it wasn't enough, no. But I think they did something that neither two clubs would have done.
He's good at this.
I like that. Yeah,
that was
convincing.
Good.
I mean,
that was
convinced.
Totally.
Does that work?
Yeah.
You're happy with that?
Yes.
All right, good. I'm glad.
It's good. It's nice that you could surprise us after all these years, Sydney. Beautiful. You said that Iribar is the legend. He is the goalkeeper in Spain, but he is.
It's funny as well. There's a thing about Basque goalkeepers, isn't there? You know, because he's not even the only. You know, he's far from the only legendary Basque keeper. You talk about Arconada for La Real, others as well.
Well, Arconada has really come into focus this week, of course, because you have Real Sociedad winning the final with Unai Marrero, the substitute goalkeeper, who'd been a star already in, was it last 16 or the quarterfinals? Can't remember now.
Last 16.
Last 16, who then saves 2 more penalties in the shootout this time around. He's the substitute goalkeeper. He's wearing the Arconada shirt. Now, we shouldn't overplay this a bit in that that's a commercialised shirt now and it's what they do. It's not that he'd taken that decision, but there has been a conscious decision to emulate Arconada, to wear a shirt like Arconada used to wear. And every time you talk about our goalkeeper in Donosti, people relate it to Arconada, who was a genuine superstar.
He was. I know someone in Madrid who's just a little bit older than me, and he works for Real Madrid TV, and he is very, 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 very Madridista, madrileño, and of a certain political persuasion. And when he was a kid, he told me, I supported Real Sociedad because of Luis Arconada. Like, that's how much he had a cultural sway on people.
And it was, I think it was, am I right in saying it, Palop, wasn't it? When Spain won the Euros in 2008, Palop wore an Arconada shirt. Yeah. Arconada, who, some of you will know this, but who was...
Palop's from Valencia.
Exactly, there's no connection. There's no reason to have a connection. Arconada was the Spain goalkeeper who made a mistake in the Euros final in 1984 when they finished runners-up, and there was always a feeling of, rather than saying, what an idiot, he made a mistake, there was an embracing of him, because this guy is an absolute legend, and it can happen even to him.
And it's funny, because keepers don't tend to be the biggest stars, or the biggest names, or the biggest heroes, but in these cases, they were.
Here's a totally off the top of my head, and probably about to say something stupid one for you, a rincon cultural. Is this to do with pelota? Is it to do with a sense of, you know, the sporting identification of the Basque country is different?
The Basque country is a place which has televised wood chopping. So,
and quite often, before games, you'll have wood chopping on the pitch.
Yeah. So it is different.
It's certainly different.
It's definitely different.
Any tips?
Go to Pozas before, and if you can, check out the Basque street poetry battle which
Yes.
takes place.
Yeah, it's called the Bertso Derby, and I love this, and I'm sort of hoping this will force Kitro into a momentary wrap off. But basically, this is essentially a poetry off. You get teams of people, normally 3 on each team, 3 for Real Sociedad, 3 from Athletic Club, and it's improvised Basque street poetry. Unfortunately, of course, being in Basque, I don't understand a word of it.
No.
But it's phenomenal to see, and it's really, again, it's that idea of it being, this is a cultural manifestation, not just a sporting one. In fact, maybe not even a sporting one.
No, it's just slightly strange, but it also quite nice to see.
It's brilliant.
You've done. I haven't seen it myself, but I've seen videos that you've taken, and it is.
Yeah, it's quite something.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
unique.
go and see that, and also eat as many pinchos as you physically can. Just fill yourself with pinchos.
Let's move on to the Catalan Derby. The Catalan Derby. There are, of course, others. This is the one that we are talking about, Barcelona against Espanyol, the one that you are all familiar with. Again, this is a familiar theme in the show about one-sidedness, which is why we kicked off with the Seville Derby, which makes the Seville Derby proper, because it is this kind of whatever. We talked about that. This is one-sided, Sid. This is ridiculously one-sided. It might be the most one-sided derby of a major city across Europe in terms of 2 teams in the top flight.
Do you want some numbers?
Yeah.
According to a government poll, football fans in Catalonia, 75.4% support Barcelona, 11.9%, only 11.9% support Real Madrid. Yeah, Espanyol are down at. I'm just checking. This is right. Espanyol are down at 3%.
That's why they call themselves the marvellous minority.
Yeah. As PK once said, and PK is very much wind-up merchant in chief. He's also, in fairness, victim of some really pretty nasty abuse over the years as well. PK said they call themselves the marvellous minority. It'd be nice if they could fill the stadium once in a while, which is also harsh. And I actually feel like at this point I should stand up and defend Espanyol.
Go on then.
Which is to say, they are a big club. They are a historic club. They have a big fan base. They have a big stadium that they fill. They've had really big moments. And also, just let me say one thing. Well, I'm going to say lots of things, but let me say this one thing. There is this myth that I want to challenge. And this myth says, Espanyol, they're all Real Madrid fans. Well, they sort of are, because Real Madrid are not Barcelona. But the idea is that they go and play against Real Madrid, and they just lie down and die and say, go on, score 10 goals, we don't care. And they go to Barcelona, a knife between their teeth, and they go for them, and they fight. Their record against Barcelona over the last 15 years is far worse than it is against Real Madrid. They've actually had better results against Real Madrid than against Barcelona. That said, it is still true that they go with a knife between their teeth against Barca.
Yeah, and like you say, they're not a small club. They're just not a giant, global kind of behemoth like Barcelona.
Well, which is why I suppose, and this speaks to the identity, should we do the game again of come up with a name for it, a word for it?
A word, yeah.
I suppose the word here is shadow.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Barcelona cast an enormous shadow, and it is impossible for Espanyol to get out of that. And in a way, I think almost what they need to do is not try to get out of it, to build an identity. It's really difficult.
Well, that's what they were doing with that marvellous minority idea. And that
Except, of course, as soon as you call yourself a minority, you're effectively implicitly saying, because there's a really big team out there. And genuinely, this is the kind of thing that marketing departments talk about and discuss. How do we pitch ourselves? How do we tell our story? How do we say who we are? And it's really quite difficult. Because how do you tell a story that isn't, what's our identity? Well, our identity is we're not Barcelona.
Yeah.
And
that is their identity.
In part. And obviously we see this, by the way. We see this
culturally as well.
We see this in the slightly awkward thing about Catalanism.
Yes.
And Espanyol's attempts to try and reclaim for themselves Catalanism, changing the name into Catalan, which is, by the way, to keep the initials the same, meant they pretty much had to invent a word to change the name to that.
Deportiu?
Deportiu, because it should be Esportiu.
Yes.
It shouldn't be Deportiu. Using announcements in Catalan. But they're right to say that they've brought kids through the youth system. They're right to say they've had lots of Catalan players. They're right to say that they are a Catalan team in many ways. And, of course, the myth, and most of you will know this, but the people make the assumption that they're called Espanyol, which, of course, means Spanish, because they're not Catalan. That's not why they're called Espanyol. They're called Espanyol because it was a bunch of Spanish students who started the club at a time when Barcelona was launched by foreign students, not by Catalan. It's not Catalan against Spanish, it's Spanish against not Spanish, with Catalan included in that. There is the famous phrase,
Go on.
Barcelona always use it, Barcelona are more than a club. To which, of course, the response from the other side of the city is, yeah, and so's Catalonia, but you wouldn't know it. And part of their identity is that feeling that they've been pushed aside, that they don't exist, that the political authorities, that the society doesn't take any notice of them. I mean, sorry, do you want me to stop now?
So, Menno, maybe all of this is why we have seen sort of seething resentment building up against,
Resentment, that's the word.
Resentment.
Okay.
Resentment's the word.
Yeah, not shadow.
Not shadow, resentment.
Okay.
Either or, because this derby has actually gotten quite nasty over the last few years, particularly from the Espanyol side.
Yeah, and I think this is... Look,
we've seen some... When I say scenes that, nobody wants to see this, nobody wants to see players literally chased off the pitch by...
No.
Pitch invading fans. We don't want to see that.
No, I was there then. It's actually quite scary when that happens. Yeah. And look... Should we get all serious and responsible here? It's true that when you start talking about rivalries and you start talking about derbies, implicitly in this there is a little bit of a joy in the needle and the edge, and there is a little bit of us enjoying the fact that it gets a bit feisty at times, it gets proper naughty. But it can also on occasions be really unpleasant, and that's not you don't want that. And I mentioned PK before, and PK is a wind-up merchant trying to wind up Espanyol, but actually some of what PK has faced has been absolutely grotesque. It's been really, truly horrible. And that's not good at all.
You do feel for Espanyol, especially when a really good player does come through, like, say, Joan Garcia, goes and joins Barca.
Yes. I was actually told that Joan Garcia was a Barcelona fan as a kid.
But his family were all Espanyol season
But
ticket
he
holders.
was a Barcelona fan. So.
And also the option from a professional point of view. That's why one of the things that I liked about this was there's a moment before the game when they face each other this year, and they do the pre-match interview on the pitch. And my mind's gone blank. I can't think which player it is. I think it might be Joffre Carreras, I think. And they ask him about Joan Garcia. And he says, I hope no one minds me saying this, but Joan is my friend. I just thought, what a brilliant way of cutting through the shit, and yet at the same time, effectively, you do realise that you shouldn't mind that I've got a friend, but people will.
Classic game. Let's get back to our structure here. A classic game from this fixture, the Catalan derby. There is one that springs to mind.
There's one obvious one, right? Going back to 2007. A game, not just a derby, but a derby which decided a league title in just about the most dramatic way possible, Sid.
Which we've mentioned before on the podcast. Stop us if you've heard this before. But the Tamudazo from 2007, scored by Raúl Tamudo.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This is proper amazing. So it's week 37 in La Liga. It's the last few minutes of week 37 in La Liga, and they are playing the games simultaneously. Real Madrid and Barcelona are competing for the league title. Admittedly, Barcelona have been really quite poor for most of the year, but they are still within reach of winning the league title. Basically, Real Madrid are losing 2-1 in Zaragoza. Barcelona are winning 2-1 at home against Espanyol. Real Madrid need 2 goals, but they don't need to score them both themselves. So here's the times. I actually wrote this down for you. 10:47 at night and 19 seconds. Ruud van Nistelrooy scores in Zaragoza. Real Madrid are now drawing 2-2. 10:47 and 39 seconds. Tamudo scores for Espanyol to make it 2-2 at the Camp Nou. Real Madrid, from being basically the title's gone, they're now top of the table. 2 goals in 18 seconds in 2 different stadiums. Raúl Tamudo, who is born in Catalonia, who is, if you like, the hero, the best player in Espanyol's recent history, goes and scores this goal against Barcelona, which cost them a league title.
So is that the most dramatic minute in La Liga history?
It's absolutely nuts. It's amazing to watch. There's the footage of Ruud van Nistelrooy trotting back, thinking, we've equalised, but we haven't really got long to get the next one. And then there's a big cheer. You go, you don't need to get the next one now. Espanyol have just scored it for you, however many hundreds of miles away, 300 miles away.
Yeah, it is pretty fitting that the defining moment of this rivalry is a goal that Espanyol scored to deny Barcelona the title. Like,
well, you look at the 2 of the last 3 titles that Barcelona have won, assuming they win this one, have been won against Espanyol, and this one was effectively won against Espanyol a week ago, which pretty much brought it to an end. But yeah, it's kind of defined by Espanyol denying them a title. Shall I try and do the polite version? I'll try and do the polite version of this.
Go on, please.
In Diario AS, their match reporter was an Espanyol fan. He described, he said, God is a periquito. God is a parakeet. Now, I know he moves in mysterious ways and transforms himself. There you go. He's a paraquito. Espanyol have won this game. The headline in AS, one of the big sports newspapers that day, after Tamudo had done this, was the shag of the century. That's how much he'd enjoyed it.
very enjoyable. I feel like we should move on to a derby that we've left to the end, more or less.
Kitro, should you and I go and get a drink at the bar and leave Sid solo for this one?
Asturian derby. Real Oviedo against Sporting Gijón. Now, actually, we haven't just put this in because of Sid. We've put this in because it is actually a proper, like a very, very serious derby in Spanish football. Not the highest level of Spanish football, usually. No, that's true. But it is...
Well, not in recent years. But
not
traditionally and historically, it was First Division. All right, come on. Show a bit of respect.
Not for a while. But yes, this is, Sid, this genuinely is a proper derby, and give us a word to define it.
Helmet.
That's a bit harsh on you, Sid. I wouldn't... Come on.
Helmet. So I'm gonna go a little bit personal to start with. The first time that I went to an Asturias derby was...
Is that you?
No, that's not me. But
it does look a bit like a young Sid, though, doesn't it?
It could be me.
Are we sure it's not you?
Yeah, I'm sure it's not me. First time I went to an Asturias derby was 1997, and I mentioned to an Oviedo supporting friend that I was going to go to the derby, and he said, "Get yourself a helmet." What? Get yourself a helmet? What do you mean? He said, "You're going to need a helmet. Get yourself a helmet." People go in workman's helmets, as you can see there. Now, in fairness, you can also see in this picture that quite a lot of people don't, and actually we didn't.
I like the fact it's also like an Oviedo branded helmet, though. It's got the club badge on it. Do they sell
I
the club shop? No,
I think
he made that himself?
I think he's made that himself. It's just a workman's helmet that he stuck a sticker on. I sent you a picture that a friend of mine sent of a helmet which is, it's been scribbled all over and it says lots of very rude things about Sporting Gijón on it. But basically, what happened was they put us in a train. We went from Oviedo to Gijón, which is about 30 kilometres. Now, as you can imagine, a train from Oviedo to Gijón has lots of intermittent stations. Now, it wasn't stopping at those stations because it was just the fans. We were packed into the train, nowhere to move. People are a bit drunk. People are literally passing glasses of piss along the carriage to throw out the window because no one's going to get to the toilet. It's quite grim. Anyway, you get out, but as you get to the last 2 or 3 stops before Gijón, obviously the Sporting Gijón fan knows what the route of the train is. The train can't go off its tracks. It knows what the route of the train is. They are Sporting fans waiting at the platforms of the small towns just before Gijón as the train goes through to chuck things at the train as we're going past. Now, I'm going to come back to what we said earlier. I don't want this to be a glorification of violence.
No, we don't condone...
But, it's quite an experience, to be fair. Anyway, so you get to Gijón. This is the fans getting to Gijón at the train station, and the police march you to the stadium. It's a great walk, by the way. It's about 3 kilometres from the station to the stadium. You go along the seafront, fantastic. And along the seafront, the Sporting fans are also waiting for you to throw things at you, hence the workman's helmet, because they will throw things at you. Bottles are flying over and stuff like this. The police decide they want to move us a little bit quickly, so they start to run. I don't know if you've ever seen 500 people running in a square, boxed in by police. Put it this way, if you start to go a bit too slow, or a bit too far to the left, or a bit too far to the right, whack, you're back in the crowd. It really wasn't actually very nice, but looking back on it, it sort of makes me laugh, I'll admit it. You get to the stadium, and it was 0-0. But it doesn't matter, because there was another derby that year, the year that I lived in Oviedo, and you get to the stadium in a wheelchair. At this point, I'd broken my ankle, I was in the hospital in Oviedo. I persuaded them to allow me out for one day to go to the derby. So I get in the wheelchair, they allow me to go to the stadium. I've got
wheelchair and no helmet this time.
No helmet this time because it was at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, wheel me to the stadium. Brilliant. And it's 0-0 again. So So I couldn't tell you much about the football. There's a lovely line from the mayor of Oviedo before the first of those derbies that year. He said, "This isn't just football. This is poetry." I don't know what poetry he was reading because, my God, it was awful.
I mean, it often is.
It quite often is awful.
Not
Yeah,
going for the football.
yeah, it quite often is awful. So, do you want some actual games?
Classic.
I mean,
classic
are there any classic games?
Quotation marks.
Sort of classic.
Yeah, I mean, there's some classic figures in this.
Okay.
Kinney, for example. The one that really sticks with me is David Villa. And obviously, it's easy to say this after the event.
I think we can see him here, a young
There
David
is.
Villa.
This is in 2002, I think. And David Villa scores as Sporting beat Real Oviedo. And David is 19 at this point. And I promise you, he was unbelievable. Like, obviously, you look at it now. Well, of course, he went on to be everything that he was, win the Champions League with Barcelona, fantastic player at Valencia, win everything with Spain. But you could tell even then that this guy was phenomenal. This guy's dad supports Real Oviedo. It hurts still. He ignored his dad. Yeah. Oviedo weren't interested in him when he was a kid. His dad, Mel, supports Real Oviedo. I mean, I assume he doesn't support them anymore.
Yeah.
But David Villa became a big sporting player, big sporting fan, despite actually never playing in the first division for them. But the symbolism of what he meant for Sporting, because bear in mind that this is second division game. This is a period in which neither of them have been in the first division for a little bit. Sporting have actually been down longer than Oviedo at this point. And then David Villa, when he leaves, makes a point of always expressing his identification with Asturias, the region, pouring cider as part of his celebration, being a Sporting fan. He actually made friends with the guys from Canal Plus TV during the Euros in 2008 so that he would have somewhere to go and watch Sporting play. So he would go to the mobile unit and watch the games in the mobile unit with them. Mm-hmm. And just, very much identify with it. So much so that when he came back to play against Sporting for the first time as a Valencia player, he scores a penalty and the stadium applauds him.
Wow.
Which I like.
Notice that he didn't actually give a game.
You mentioned one game.
No, I gave you this game.
You mentioned one that Oviedo lost 4-1 to Sporting's B team.
Right, so this is the thing. So they play in 2003 and then they don't play each other again until 2017, I think it is. Oviedo, a lot of you will know this, but Oviedo get relegated in 2001, they get relegated again, they then get administratively relegated, they go all the way down to Tercera División in Spain, which isn't Tercera División. You've got First Division, Second Division B, which is split across 4 groups, 80 teams, and the Third Division, which is 18 groups. I think back then it was only 17, but 17 groups. So you're not talking, a fourth tier. You're playing on park pitches a lot of the time. You're playing against some pretty small clubs. Oviedo end up playing against Sporting's B team. They beat us 4-1. You go to the Molinón and you see your team lose 4-1 to your rival's B team. They did it to us twice. And so that was the kind of real symbol of this. And the other thing that happened was when Oviedo were playing local regional football against local regional teams in the Gijón area, Sporting's fans start turning up to support the other team. And again, let's say that thing about not wanting to glorify in the confrontation, but actually occasionally that got nasty as well. Because you can imagine a local park team, there's no police, there's no way of controlling it. And occasionally that got nasty. But yeah, that was, if you like, the manifestation of how far Oviedo had fallen.
In terms of the sort of the cultural background to this rivalry, sort of Oviedo are the...
Well, it's two cities.
The posh
Yeah,
kids.
a little bit. That is sort of true. Oviedo is the provincial capital. Gijón is actually a bigger city. Oviedo is a provincial capital. Oviedo likes to remind Gijón that they're the provincial capital. I remember actually that game when we were marched along the beach, some of the chants, my favourite one was Oviedo fans offering a deal to the British government. Gijón for Gibraltar. You give us Gibraltar back, you can have Gijón.
Are we taking that?
For some reason, the British government never took him up on that. I mean, I'd say that's wrong. I'd sooner have Gijón,
don't reject it out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's at least talk about this. So Oviedo are away for a long time, which is why the other derby that I really like is the first one back. And the first one back, and Oviedo get an 88th minute equaliser. They haven't played each other for, 17 years at this point. And Toche, who's the captain that day, stands in front of the fans, takes the armband off and holds it out in front of the fans and says that, I can't remember what the phrase was, something along the lines of, this is the whole of Oviedismo is in this, because it was a sign that actually Oviedo would have come back. And Sporting fans kind of laughed at Oviedo, said, your whole season's based on playing us. No, it's just a demonstration that we came back because we had to play your B team. And now, look where they are. Not for very long, admittedly, but... allow me to glory in it for a moment.
Do you want to tell everybody where you were literally last night, Sid?
I was in Oviedo.
Yeah. And then
on a bus.
Sid went to Oviedo last night, got a night bus, an overnight bus to Madrid, straight to the airport to catch his plane to join us today. Yeah.
He slept on the bus, ladies and gentlemen. He slept on the bus.
Yeah, Kitro did not know about this until yesterday.
No.
He surely knew.
No,
it was
you
a
told me you
possibility.
thought you were going to do it. I thought I talked you out of it.
And then I was like, no, he's doing it.
Yeah.
I do listen. I just don't always act upon what I've heard.
Listen, but you completely ignore. Absolutely. And he took his son. So there we go. But fair enough.
Social services are after me.
So your recommendation is like go at all costs to Oviedo, whatever commitments you've got the next day.
That's basically the recommendation. Yeah.
Can I tell you a secret?
Go on.
I've never been to Oviedo.
We do have to fix this. You know?
Yeah.
That must be like TSFP's kind of 20th birthday.
I feel like I've heard so much
celebration
about
or
Oviedo. I don't need to go there. It's fine. I know all about that, but it's nice.
I mean, I was going to. Then I realised it was deeply unpleasant. I was going to tell you about some of the favourite chants of the fans towards the players, and I decided against it. But obviously, another person who symbolises...
The guys from LALIGA go, no.
Yeah, don't do it. It's really, really quite unpleasant. But there's a famous photograph of a guy called Antonio Gorriarán, who is seen as the embodiment of Real Oviedo during the years when they came up from the second division in the late 80s and were in the first division. And he was basically not particularly talented, but he would kick everyone, and he was tough as nails, and he was the embodiment of what Oviedo wanted their fans to be. And there's a famous photograph of him saying to Luis Enrique, "I'm saving the red card for you." What a brilliantly threatening line that is.
That is terrifying.
Saving the red card for you. He claims there's a little bit of mythology. He said, I did say something to him, but it might not have been exactly that.
It's a great line.
He's now living in a cabin, in a shepherd's cabin, trying to write books.
That sounds lovely.
He went from hard man to, I don't know, what would you call that? Holistic.
I like that. Anyway, one day, TSFP live show in Oviedo. It'll happen.
It would be good, that, wouldn't
For
it?
Kitro's first visit.
I'm saving the red card for you. I like that. I'm trying to think how I can work that into conversing with my son when he's pissing me off. Saving the red card for you. Okay, that's quite enough about Oviedo. We've heard far too much about them. Right.
Any others?
Any other
We
derbies?
thought about this. We debated this quite fiercely, whether any others deserving of making a place on our shortlist.
And obviously the South Madrid derby.
Only, as I said earlier on, only 4 kilometres between them. But you...
I had to... The only way I could illustrate was...
Super P.
I would say Kitro's meeting with Super Pepino. It's more SP ran past you very fast.
He's literally just doing that, just running up and down the tunnel.
And you got very excited. It wasn't in a derby, by the way. It's just my favorite, one of my favourite TSFP moments.
Yeah.
But the South Madrid derby, Getafe Leganés. I mean, actually quite tasty, Sid?
Yeah, a little bit tasty in a sort of a small-time tasty kind of way.
Small-time tasty.
Say, only 4 kilometres between the two. You can actually see the other stadium from Leganés, which is slightly higher up. You can see. Yeah,
of course, this is best known as the derby that is. Is it the closest derby to your house?
It is the closest derby to my house. I mean, until Alcorcon start playing whoever Alcorcon play.
The word is convenient.
The word is convenient. Yeah, the word is convenience. Advice for this game: give me a shout on the way there, and I'll drop you off.
Yeah.
This derby is actually unique, genuinely unique, because Leganés and Getafe are the only two teams to have played each other at every single level of Spanish football. This is genuinely a derby played on gravel pitches. This is genuinely
that's great.
a derby.
That's a great
It's fantastic. And they're not huge clubs, but these are big cities, even though they're part of a kind of the Madrid outer ring. And there was a project, and I can't remember which mayor it was, who'd come up with the idea of creating a town that was going to be called Madrid South, and it was just going to join together Móstoles, Leganés, Getafe, and I can't remember which other one, maybe Alcorcon, and so let's just make them the big Madrid city. But they've all got identities of their own, up to a point. They're really quite close. They genuinely hate each other.
They do.
They really do.
Yeah,
and
they really do.
Again, it can get occasionally a little bit edgy, although I did go to the first ever derby between the two teams in the first division.
Yes.
And there's nothing around Leganés' ground. It's kind of an out-of-town ground, but actually not very far out of town if you walk the other way.
There's a shopping centre.
There's a shopping centre with a McDonald's and a Carrefour and stuff like that. And so basically the fans had started doing... I suppose...
Doing their shopping?
Well, yes. Well, actually, yes. They'd kind of done, I suppose, the Spanish tailgating thing. They got their cars, they got little trestle tables out, and they have the drinks by the cars and get on with it. And there's this moment where you have the Getafe fans turn up, and then the Leganés fans start chanting, and they do that thing of chanting, "You're just 4 cats."
Yes.
Which is a Spanish way of saying there's hardly any of you.
Yeah.
You're just 4 cats. There's hardly any of either of them, really.
And obviously the Leganés chant to them is Ea, 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 Getafe es una aldea.
Yeah.
Getafe is like a hamlet because it has an official population which is 2,000 less than Leganés. So you're a hamlet. We're so much bigger than you.
That aldea thing is quite popular in derbies, actually. Between Oviedo and Gijón, they do that as well. They call each other aldeanos.
Yeah.
You're just,
do they do that as well?
Yeah. Just from a crappy little town.
Yeah. All right. I mean, Canary Islands derby was another derby that we didn't.
Well, a big one that we
haven't.
been
I've not
to.
been to it. So yeah, you have been to it like 25 years or never.
I don't know if I've been to it. I don't think I have.
Well,
I think I would remember if I had.
But you spent a lot of time with Las Palmas.
With Las Palmas and with Tenerife and obviously their islands. So this, when I was going through the distances, I actually have got the distance between these two, and it's quite close. But of course, you've got to go across water, so it's not that easy to do. But I do like the imagery of travelling to a game by boat.
Yeah, I remember reading an article like a long time ago in like 442 magazine about like the British expats in both the islands who have become sort of like the ultras. And they were like, "Oh, I fucking hate those Tenerife bastards," which I thought was hilarious. But yeah, so there's that element.
Do you know,
to it
Vinny
as well.
Samways had a bar in Las Palmas. His brother ran it, and he's the absolute spitting image of Vinny Samways. It was
nice.
Gary Lineker had one as well, I think, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
Anyway, do you want another derby?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's not a derby yet. Well, it is, but it hasn't been for years and years and years and years and years. I get the feeling that almost nobody in Spain dislikes Villarreal because what they've done is pretty impressive. You can dislike them a little bit because of the family behind them, maybe, or you can dislike them a little bit because of that. But I think most people think, wow, they've been really good at connecting with the community, really good at building a club. You know, they're not a team that piss anyone off. They're not a team that anyone really dislikes. Oh, they do. Because if Castellón come back, that is a proper derby. And actually, it's infused, I think, with something extra. Because Castellón look at Villarreal and say, you were the 4 cats before. We were the big club. And actually, this 25 years of extraordinary success, brilliant organisation, the construction of a club from top down, but then from bottom up as well, bringing a youth system, players in from abroad, all of those things that Villarreal have done. It's quite difficult for Castellón fans who are only 9 kilometres away down the road not to look at that and think, that could have been ours.
As you've said before, if you're going to Villarreal and staying overnight...
You will probably stay in Castellón. Yeah. There's only one hotel in Villarreal and it's really not very good. I shouldn't say that, that's not fair, but it did smell quite bad last time I was there. So yeah, you'll probably stay in Castellón.
And let's see if they come up, yeah.
Okay, are we going to rank our derbies? Are we going to pick a definitive TSFP ranking?
Top 5.
Yeah, top 5?
Right.
Do we do it or do we ask them?
No, I think we can get feedback, but I think it's our rankings here. Come on.
He was like, "No, Sid, no, we're not doing
What,
that."
ask this lot?
Well, how do you propose to organise this logistically? Just cheering?
We'll just shout, I suppose.
Yeah, it's not going to work. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it?
Seville derby is number 1.
Has to be. Has to be Seville derby, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
Basque derby's number 1.
Ooh.
What? Why? Explain yourself.
All right, now we can ask you guys. Okay.
Because...
well, he's already explained it, you know.
Yeah, I suppose because for everything that we've said.
But why?
I think
the
depth of identity, the demonstration of a kind of a love of tradition, of players that really symbolise your clubs, of connection to the community, I think is even greater than in Seville, and Seville's brilliant. I think that they over the last few years have largely probably been slightly better teams or slightly better games. Truth is that the Seville Betis games haven't always been brilliant.
No.
Hold on.
I like
Basque derby's usually not that good at all.
It's always right. So go back to your thing about is it a problem that they're friendly? It's always fierce. So despite that friendliness, that doesn't make the game rubbish. It doesn't make it wet. It doesn't make it.
I don't know.
You've not convinced me, Sid.
I go back to the colour and the passion of Seville. Well, should we let the audience decide?
All right.
If you think that Seville is the best derby in Spain, cheer now. If you think the Basque derby is the best in Spain, cheer now. Oh, Sid.
I think Basque has won that, hasn't it?
I mean, I was going to say hands, which was easier to probably say, but...
Were you going to count? Sid's not counting. Maths.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yes, exactly.
I think the Basque Derby,
Basque Derby wins. All right.
Okay.
Basque Derby is number 1. Fine.
So does that make Seville number 2?
I think it has to.
I think so.
It's not Getafe Leganés, is it? I mean,
no. And then, we can stick the...
Madrid?
Madrid or Galician?
Do you know what? Actually, I can't believe that Madrid wasn't even in the discussion for number 1.
It's not in terms of derby.
But it's the only one that's been a European Cup final twice.
And it's probably the second biggest game in Spanish football. But
wow, we literally just didn't even mention Madrid.
I think it's what we said about the equality and the even nature of the derby. I think that's why it has to be one of the other two.
Wow, we didn't... Yeah, okay.
Okay, so Basque Derby 1, Seville Derby 2, Madrid Derby 3.
And then we'll stick the Galicians 4th, the magical, mystical Galicians,
Yeah.
and the Asturians 5. He's sitting there going,
So it's like, can I think of a way to justify bumping the Asturian Derby up the list? Are we happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Okay.
There we go. That's
So that's Asturias first.
Yes.
That's what you heard.
Yeah, that's definitely what I heard. It goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It goes up. It goes in descending order.
Right. We're going to finish with a game. Another game, guys. So, who would like to be involved?
We need 2 more volunteers.
That's more like
Now you know that everyone gets a prize.
It doesn't matter if I
My little
lose.
friend at the back there, yes. You can come.
Wait, who are you pointing at?
You want to play? You? Yeah? Okay. Maybe Dad can help.
Come on.
Dad can help as well.
Yeah.
Hang on.
One more?
Dad can help. You
So
think
that's
Dad,
one
do you
team.
think Dad can help?
Yeah, Dad can help. Dad.
It's going to make things worse for
yes,
you.
Eibar, let's go.
Oh, look at this.
Come
It's a
on up.
Basque Derby. Another.
Yeah.
It's a different Basque Derby.
And once again, the prizes will be a shirt from the La Liga grab bag for both contestants
Okay.
and a fantastic book written by one of the 3 people standing next to us right now. Brendan over there.
You're going to win Dad's
Well, maybe
book.
hang on to that one and we'll give it to someone else.
All right. Get involved, Dad, as well, because he might need it's true or false. We've come up with some fantastic statements about Spanish football, and you have to figure out if it's true or false. Okay. I'll ask you one, and then I'll ask you one. Okay, so what's your name? Rich. And your name? Maliki. All right. Rich, this is for you. The Catalan derby may be extremely one-sided, but it's actually Espanyol who hold the record for the biggest win in the derby. True or false? It is true, Rich. 6-0 on the 15th of April, 1951.
So it wasn't always bad for Espanyol.
It wasn't
There
always
were
bad.
some good times.
There were some good times. Okay.
Okay, it's still 0-0.
Right. Now, Maliki, this is for you. Okay, listen carefully. Dad, too. Of the 7 big derbies that we've mentioned tonight, the Madrid derby, the Seville derby, the Basque derby, the Catalan, Asturian, Galician, and Valencian, the only one where the head-to-head record is exactly level in terms of wins is the Galician derby. Which one of these derbies is completely level in terms of who's won it?
True or false?
Is the Galician one the only one that is level? True or false? Do not listen to Daddy, because it is true.
Oh, Dad! You're so embarrassing!
125 games played between them. 48 wins for Depor, 48 wins for Celta. So there we go. Still 0-0. You're still in it.
You're still in this.
Still in it. Right, Rich. Levante have never kept a clean sheet at Mestalla. True or false? It is false. It's happened twice, in 2011 and 2008.
1-0.
1-0 to Rich. Right. Maliki. And Dad. Real Oviedo. You said this one out. Real Oviedo have a worse win percentage against Sporting Gijon's B team than they do against Sporting Gijon's first team. True or false? It is true.
It's level, 1-1.
33% win percentage against Sporting B, 44% win percentage against Sporting. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, neither's great.
okay. This is for you, Rich. The Athletic Club supporter who went viral during his team's derby defeat at Anoeta in 2023 for standing alone in the crowd celebrating with La Real fans is also a member of a Basque band that includes Asia Via Libre on trombone. It's true.
Only in the Basque country. And it's still 1-1. Sid, start preparing a tie-break question just in
Oh,
case.
my word.
Okay?
Oh, hang on.
No, there's no... Oh, yeah, well, okay.
We've got more to
There's
we've got more
tiebreak.
to
How many
come.
more questions you got?
This is the last one. Maliki, this is to win. This is to win.
No pressure, kid.
Okay. The last time that Leganés and Getafe met in January 2025, Leganés were fined 20,000 euros after their mascot, Super Pepino, appeared to grab his genital area in front of the travelling Getafe fans following Diego Garcia's 92nd minute winner. Would Super Pepino do something like that? True or false? It is false.
It's false. We all know that SP does not have... He doesn't have any genitals. He doesn't have any. It's entirely smooth.
So there we go.
So
it's a draw.
It's a draw.
You
Everyone's
both
a
win.
winner,
Everyone's
guys.
a winner.
You don't want a tie-break question.
We don't want a
We
tiebreak
don't want.
question.
Good.
Yes. Forget the tie-break question. At random. He's got the Seville one. That's a nice one. Nice one for Dad. Yeah. That's very nice. I mean, we don't have any kids ones, do we? No. No. There we go. All right. Well, you know, give it 10 years and it'll look great. So it'll be retro. Yeah. Yeah. Nice one. You don't need one.
You had enough of that book already.
Yes. Muy bien. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Great job.